Welcome back to the Average White Guys. My name is Alex Haynes, and I'm one of the owners of A Squared. We're a marketing company that's also helping people learn how to turn likes into dollars. And I'm here with the illustrious, good-looking, amazing, exuberant Justin Scouten. Justin, say hi.
Hey everybody, I'm Justin with LLW Properties and Community Real Estate Services.
And Justin, what are we talking today on this fabulous podcast?
The power of leveraging others, networking.
That sounds amazing. Leveraging others sounds like something I want to do every day, all day long, because that means I have to do less. So, funny story. A long, long time ago in a land far, far away called my back hometown, I was introduced to the concept of networking, where someone invited me to go hang out with a bunch of people, bring some business cards, and just talk. And I remember my first time, I was kind of a fish out of water until I realized I just have to talk to people. And then I fell deeply, deeply in love with it because it fit with my personalities of being an action type and a nurturer. And ever since then, networking has been a huge part of our business. And overall, we've actually made a lot of our business, a good chunk of our business, based on networking. And recently, networking has become a huge part in what we're doing with our new stuff we've talked about. As you know, Justin, I'm working on a new coaching program, a new marketing coaching program to help people turn likes into dollars. And we've actually partnered with a local chamber, the Dixon Chamber, which is a couple towns over. We're a part of their chamber. And we've done a lot of work with them. And because of the networking I've done over there, we've built relationships, which is what a nurturer does. And those relationships have let us get some things and do some things other people might not have an opportunity to do. Now, this is because we've given a lot. Like, it's not just I came in, made friends, and they're like, hey, do this. I gave a lot to the chamber, helped them out, doing some free graphics, giving us some insights, helping with social media. And now we're actually going to be offering a totally free training so people can get an idea what our online training is going to look like. Because at the end of the day, my goal is to sell my training program, my coaching program. And so we're giving a free course that we're going to record, and then I'm going to turn that into a webinar, which means I'm killing like 3 birds with 1 stone. So I'm going to speak to a bunch of people who are interested in learning social media, and anyone who shows up is a potential client for me, right? Because they're coming for free training. That means they want training, which means they're going to want to buy my stuff. 2, I'm going to record it, which means now I have content for social media and marketing and other little things. I can take snippets out of that. And then I'm going to also turn that recording into a webinar, which means I can do this free class multiple times over and over again and just be there online to answer questions and help people get sold online. So it's a huge win for me. And this all came out from networking with some people. How cool is that?
That is awesome. You're taking advantage of networking, and I wouldn't even say taking advantage. Maybe it's not the best word. You're utilizing it for what it's for. Yeah. My story on networking is basically this podcast. I think we might have mentioned this in a few other episodes, and we've talked about it before. Do not like being in front of a camera at all. And you've tried to talk me into it a few years ago, being on cameras, and I just basically avoided it like plague. You don't want to say those words anymore. I avoided it like COVID. How's that one? And and it was just one of those things where I just do not feel comfortable in front of it. And at this point, though, you've encouraged me to do this. I'm now in front of a camera. We're doing podcasts. This is going to go YouTube, those type of items. And it's taken a while to get there. We met like 5 years ago now. And you just, one day you said, hey, you want to do a podcast? I'm like, sure, let's do it. And the look on your face was just pure amazement that I would even do something like this. And it's just really gotten me out of a shell. And I would not have had the opportunity if we didn't meet in our networking group to be able to do this. And those are some of the things that you need to take advantage of those little opportunities that may not show up, but if you still put in the time and effort, it's going to turn out for you in the long run.
You know, I love that story, partly because I'm part of that story. And you're right. My face was pure amazement and also joy. Like, let me be clear to our audience here. I was so excited when you said yes. I was almost giddy. I think I texted my business partner right away. He goes, oh my goodness. He said yes. I get to do a podcast with Justin because Justin, as we've talked about, you bring something to this that I don't, which is a vast knowledge of other people's stuff, books you've read, podcasts you've listened to, articles you've sourced. You have a huge collection of data that you have garnered because of who you are. And I saw that as a treasure trove of creating content to help business people. And that was my goal when we set up this podcast is I want to reach my audience. So I want to give something. I want to give something of value to business people. And that's how this came about. And I love that story. And this is why I think networking is such a huge and powerful tool, especially for business owners. So I want to talk about what you should look for when it comes to networking opportunities. Can we do that together, you think?
Sounds great.
So obviously for me, and I'm looking at the camera and said this because you guys know what I'm going to talk about, is going to be about building relationships, right? The importance of creating genuine connections. It is so important. You have no idea what connections can do for you. There's a saying, it's not what you know, but who you know. And that can be so true because even though sometimes as business owners, we go with the concept of I'm going to network to sell my goods, to find business, sometimes relationships are way more valuable because they can bring something to the table that money can't buy. And that's wisdom, especially in our case. There have been 2 or 3 businesses that have spoken into our business that have helped us go to that next level. We never would have taken those steps if those businesses hadn't encouraged us or said some things. And it's funny because sometimes it's even said just in passing and they had no idea how much it meant to me. I remember I was getting excited about doing teaching and training way back before we started doing this new thing, our first one we did. And one of the business owners I respected goes, that makes so much sense. I think you're going to kill this. It's going to be awesome. It's exactly who you are. And I needed to hear that. It was 10 seconds, but that meant so much to me because someone else recognized what I was building and gave me approval. And I needed that in that moment. And that's something you can't buy. You can't buy that type of relationship. And strong relationship can actually lead to trust and business opportunities. I'm going to be honest to all our listeners, our podcast is more than just us talking to mics and having a good time. We have a strategy. We have a business model we're going to try to build out of this. This is a partnership. We are trying to do something unique that neither of us have done before. And that came out of networking. So I think that's super valuable.
And one of the things you mentioned, you said wisdom. And that's one of the things I'd like to hit on is knowledge. This is one of the biggest things that you can grab out of networking. It is other business owners, what they're doing for their marketing, like you help me with marketing. There is how they're running their businesses, the trials and tribulations that they're going through. A couple of businesses that I'm intertwined with networking, they've talked to me about some of the large projects that they've taken on. And the fact that, they really weren't set up for large projects, and now they've had to learn how to handle those type of things. And it makes you realize that, hey, all of us want that golden goose out there, that one thing that's just going to be, just make us millionaires. And that's what a couple of them ran into. But the projects were almost too large, and they didn't realize they weren't quite set up yet to handle it. And so it made me reflect on, okay, am I ready for some of these projects? And if I am, great, how do we go about it? If I'm not, what are the steps I need to take? So I got a lot of knowledge from other business owners on how to run my business, being able to help mentor a couple others on how to hopefully help run their businesses as well, or what little nuggets I can give them. And so knowledge both ways is a lot of things that you can get out of networking.
Yeah, that's so true that you can learn from other businesses, which actually kind of goes into the next point I think we want to talk about. And I love this as an action person, opportunity. Once again, this is not necessarily dollars in your pocket, but it could be because networking can open doors to new business opportunities. Like I said, we have launched a whole new training course, and that came really through a bunch of different conversations with a couple different business people who are encouraging me to share my knowledge because I was so knowledgeable of what I do. They're like, why don't you tell people how to do this? And then my business partner's like, yeah, they're right. I've been telling you to do this for years. Why did it take you so long? And some other conversation. But that has opened new opportunities for us. I'm going to share some other examples. And this is great if you get into like a referral networking situation. I have an electrician that I know who does generators. Well, when they go do a generator, they need plumbing done because if you didn't know this, plumbing is it's anything with pipes is plumbing, and you need gas lines run for generators, and you also need someone to do concrete work so the generators are flat. So these are 2 other businesses he needs to pull in to get this job done. Well, he's part of this network. He can pass on to other referrals to these other people, which is now generating business for other people because of this networking concept. So there are sometimes new opportunities, new things need to be done. And sometimes we get asked really weird things. You're like, I never thought about doing that. I've had conversation with people who go, hey, I saw this thing online. What do you know about X, Y, and Z when it comes to marketing? Oh, yeah, we can do that. And they're like, well, how much would you charge for it? And it may be the first time ever we consider charging for something like that. And now it's like part of what we do. When we first opened our doors, we were a film company. We did film and television. That's how we made our money. Over time, people were like, hey, what about this Facebook thing and this social media thing? Can you help me with that? And that's how we started working and doing social media because people asked. So you never know what opportunities could come into play when you network with people.
Yeah, and a lot of things you can get from networking, like you were talking about in there, is the reputation. And to me, that is huge with networking because right now I just took on one of our larger accounts. And how I got the lead is I mentioned to somebody in our networking group saying, hey, if anybody knows this specific person in this HOA, please let me know. He goes, hey, I've done some actual work from him. Let me give him a call. And I think within a half hour, because there was trusted relationship with that vendor, I got a call from that board president saying, hey, such and such recommended you. We are looking, actually, this is perfect timing. Can we set up an interview next week? So it was that quick. And with his reputation of the quality that he did, I was able to get that foot in the door, and it still just kind of led things the whole way through the process. And then, there's the visibility. When you are networking with others, that's really what networking is about, is that visibility. It's putting yourself out there to others. But it's also depends on what you're doing with that visibility. How are you talking with others? Are you making yourself accessible with them? So those are the type of things that you really need to work with when it comes to visibility and reputation. And then the support system. This to me is huge when it comes to networking. When I get into trouble with certain items, maybe trouble is not the best word, but when I need some help with certain situations, I know I have a network of people that I can call and say, hey, look, I know you're a little busy right now. Can you fit me in? I got a little incident here that I need to take care of. This happened, this happened. They're Johnny on the spot. Yep, you take care of me all the time. Let me see if I can do about rearranging my business right now just to go ahead and help you. And to me, that is just huge with that support system. Why? Because that makes me look better to my clients. And then they show that I know people that can get things done.
I think that's huge. And I think that's also why I enjoy going to networking events. Now, if you're a listener and you're like, hey, I love this idea of networking, but I just don't know how to leverage networking. I'm not sure how to get the most out of going to an event. Well, stick around because we got some tips for you. First, I want you to set goals. I know it's going to sound weird because a lot of times people go into networking, think, I'm just going to meet some people, shake some hands, talk to some people. Maybe I'll get lucky and I'll get an appointment. But it's actually been proven that if you actually set a goal for how many appointments you want to set, how many people you want to talk to, it's actually going to set you up for success. Because think about it this way. If Justin, if I took you to a networking event, but I prepped you ahead of time going, hey, I want you to bring some flyers, some business cards, and have a slide deck ready to go in case someone wants to do an impromptu meeting, I'm going to set you up for success. And if someone's like, hey, let's talk right away, would you be able to do something now versus if you just showed up to talk?
Yeah, that'd be very helpful for me going into it and make me look more professional as well.
So setting a networking goal is really going to help you tackle going to a networking event. And you can do this partly by doing a little research on the networking group you're about to go visit. Look into what their meeting's going to look like, what expectations are, and then come prepared. Have those business cards, have flyers, have brochures, have a digital card you can give someone. Make sure you can have something physical to hand somebody because physical is still a thing, especially when it comes to business cards, and maybe have something digital. If people don't want to have something, they'll forget it. Like I'm constantly taking photos of people's business card because I lose it. But some people have gone to a digital business card because they can just bump phones and you get all their information, and they'll like even have a thing where you can sign up for their newsletter. That's huge, especially from a tech marketing guy. That's a big win. If you come prepared, you're going to be able to do more. So first step, come prepared and identify what you want to achieve through networking.
Yeah, and talking about goals though, let's go about what events are you going to go to? There are so many out there. We belong to one. It's called BNI, Business Networking International. I belong to another one. It's Toastmasters, where you become to learn to become a better speaker. There's the chambers that you mentioned earlier, and there is also social ones. I know you're going to get to that in a second, but there's a lot of online social networking you can get to as well. And if you start planning out how you're going to attend these, what you're going to do in them, it's going to make it that much more effective. And you need to know what you're doing going into each one of them. So, like you mentioned, if you were inviting me to our BNI one, you would want to set me up so I know what's going to take place. But I also belong to a Toastmasters, and all that really is about is being a public speaker. You don't go into that one trying to sell your business at all. And if you do, it's actually kind of looked down upon because of the fact of, hey, we're just here to make ourselves better. Although I've made some connections in there, I made some business connections, I've never sold anything. And so I think everybody respects that. And then there's also the networking events you can go to, like conferences for in your type of industry. I go to one for the HOA industry. I meet a lot of other vendors there that can help me with my businesses, and I can learn about theirs as well. And so just learning what other vendors and what other industries out there are is a lot of the type of events you can go to. And then also, as I mentioned, with Toastmasters, with communication. Communication is huge when it goes to networking. The group that we're in, you have to give a 60-second infomercial, and then you also have to give an 8-minute presentation. If you're going into that and you don't know what you're going to talk about, it doesn't look the best for your business. So you need to learn those communication skills. Now, that being said, you can go into our networking group and you can not have the good understanding of it at first. But if if you are listening, seeing how others are doing it, you're working on those skills, you can become a huge communicator and learn how to make your business better. So I've always looked at that as, it's not just, like I mentioned earlier with the knowledge, it's not just what you get out of it as far as the relationships, it's also those skills that you can get out of networking also.
I think there's so much to unpack from that. It was so good you mentioned those things. And funnily enough, just real quick on the communication, if each group, you need to learn how to communicate clearly, because different groups require different type of communications, and they're different types of people. See our podcast about bank, blueprint, action, nurture, and knowledge. We're going to go over that a little bit later. But if you haven't, go check it out, because it's really going to set you up for success when you run into someone in a networking meeting who talks a totally different language than you, and you feel like you're rubbing the wrong way. You can learn how to speak to them better. This system helps me when I go network with people. So just a quick shout out to our other podcast. But I do want to actually talk about, like you said, social media for networking. As you know, I kind of like social media. And Justin over there is cracking up because I live, eat, breathe social media. So I'm going to throw some things at you that will probably blow your mind. If you're a business owner, you absolutely should be on LinkedIn. You should be on YouTube. These are two huge platforms that are actually social. And some people are like, how is YouTube social? YouTube is actually one of the biggest social media platforms in existence, because there's the comment section. And if you make good videos and you do it over a long period of time, you can build your niche audience who are all looking for you for that information you provide. And they will comment and ask questions, and it becomes a huge platform, and they'll DM you and direct message you. And it's amazingly bigger than most people give it credit for, because most people just go to consume. They forget the social aspect. So first, I very much encourage you to leverage YouTube, because many businesses don't, because they just don't think they have enough content. But you got to remember, when it comes, quick marketing tip, YouTube videos work for you every day of the year forever. They never stop working for you. That's kind of cool. And then also things like LinkedIn. I know it's not Facebook. I know it's not as social media friendly, but if you're a B2B, LinkedIn's where you got to be, because there are other businesses looking to connect with other businesses. It is exactly who you're looking for. Now, is it different than, Facebook and Twitter, or X now, and Instagram and TikTok? Absolutely. You need to learn the LinkedIn language, but that's easy to do. Once you learn it and hack it, it can provide a ton a communication and set you up for success. And I know people who run millions of dollars because of what they do with LinkedIn. Now, of course, for everyone else who doesn't want to do that, we have the bigs. We have Facebook, we have Instagram, we have X. These are also huge when it comes to a social community, especially on things like groups. Both X and Facebook have groups you can be part of. Groups are subsections or niche groups where they're really focused on one community. If you get into that right community, that is the whole essence of networking. You find the right people, you find your clan, you find your people, you get into that group and you start talking with them, you start working with them, and always bring more than what you're looking to get. You will do well when it comes to networking online. Remember, social media is meant to be social.
So, two of the influencers that stand out to me when you mention something like that for social media is Gary Vaynerchuk and Alex Hermosi. And they both basically say at different times there in their podcast, hey, Vayner Nation, that's basically what they say, or Mosey Nation. And so basically what they've done, they built up such a clan, if you can say, that they have such a following that they basically call it a nation, and it's so huge. And so that's where social media can also come into, where it's a community. They look at their posts, they talk about them, they look at them, and others comment on them as well. So it really can be a huge platform for you.
I don't want to get into this because it's another whole podcast, but really understanding that creating followers and creating a community where people listen to you and follow you and enjoy communicating with you is the key to unlocking huge success when it comes to anything in business. Because if you can create a following, you can create an atmosphere like Apple. Apple is notorious for having a community that will buy anything Apple tries to sell them, including this thing. This is brilliant. This is a stylus. Most people, now this has a lot more tech in it, but it's technically a stylus that everyone else in the world will pay $20 for. But Apple people will spend $200+ on the same thing because Apple. It is that simple. Now, would they say there's some tech behind it? They're a better pen, whatever the conversation is? Maybe. But the reality is they have created a community that are diehard fans. And so if you've ever worked or run into something, or an Apple head is what we call them, or part of the Apple community, you will know what I'm talking about. So let's move on to our personality types and really kind of dig into how each personality type might need to think about networking. Justin, you want to start with Blueprint?
Yeah, and Blueprint, like you mentioned earlier, it's all about setting up what you want to get out of networking, having that goal and knowing exactly how you're going to get to that goal. In the BNI that we belong to, if you just go into it saying, oh, I'm just going to go to the meetings, I'm just going to talk a little bit, it's not going to work for you. You need to go into it with what we call 60-second infomercials. You need to have a plan because you're teaching the people in that group how to sell for you. You need to go into it knowing that we're going to do what they call in the industry or one-to-ones, where you're going to meet outside of the networking group and you're getting to get to know each other. And if you don't set up that blueprint of how you're going to handle that, you're not going to get the most out of it. But that's kind of like it is with chamber or any of those type of things. If you're not setting your goals going into it, it's that age-old thing of you only get out of it what you put into it. And so you have to have that blueprint going into it, knowing that, hey, I'm not just doing this to pay some money to say, hey, I'm a part of this. You want to actually put the effort into it. And then there's also the action. The action is, now that you put your blueprint there, now you need to go ahead and make sure that you're taking those steps. It does take calling those people, emailing those people, setting up the time, knowing what you're doing going into it. If you're going to these conferences where it's your industry, are you actually doing the social events that take place before it, after it, and during it as well? So it's all about taking that action and making sure that you're not just sitting on the sidelines, you're involved with it, you're doing the handshakes, even if you don't like the handshakes like me sometimes, but you still have to do them. And so you need to make sure that you did get that blueprint, then take action on it.
I think that's really important. Now, nurturers, I can speak directly to you because I am one of you. Nurturers, you're going to love the idea of networking, but I have a bit of caution for you. I want you to go to a networking event to be selfish. I know right now you're like, how dare he? But this is the one thing nurturers don't do well is be selfish at a networking event. You usually go with the mindset of, I'm going to connect with people. I'm going to help my community. I'm going to build this community. We're all going to win. Except you forget to win for yourself. And so what I want you to do is when you go to a networking event, excuse me, I want you to be a little selfish and focus on your needs to make sure that you have enough that you can give out of excess instead of the starving baker syndrome. So networkers come in with the ability to active listening and offer support, but don't forget to be a little selfish and make sure you get something out of it. Now, our knowledge types, as I was reminded earlier today, knowledge types aren't a huge fan sometimes of networking because you got to deal with a lot of people and sometimes knowledge types don't like a lot of people. They like to be left alone. They'd rather read a book than deal with you. And that's just the reality of the situation. But knowledge types are extremely valuable to networking groups because you bring the knowledge, you bring the information. You are the gym that everyone wants to go to and have all the answers. So don't shy away from it because you could actually end up being a leader, which is going to give you some unique opportunities. Not only that, but you can actually go toward and lean toward some networking events that are really catered to the knowledge type. There are book clubs, there are specialty trainings that are going to deepen your knowledge. There's even like mastermind classes and um, classes that will let you master entire subjects and this built around networking of knowledge. So you may want to consider leaning toward those type of things instead of just a general networking where everyone's high-fiving and like chummy and trying to march toward, helping the community. That might not be your thing, but it doesn't mean there's not a networking group that is your thing. So don't be afraid to look for what you need. That's my bit of advice to you. So I want to kind of move into implementing some of these things for our bank system, our blueprint, action, nurture, and knowledge type. Justin, can you tell us what blueprints might need to know before going to a networking event?
Well, as blueprints, we like to have structure. We like to know what we're going into and how we're going to get the most benefit out of it. So that's one of the things that I would look into if you are wanting to network, what networking group you're going into, and maybe what their structure is. One of the things that I know, like I like out of the two that I go to for BNI and Toastmasters, is they have very structured systems in there, and that makes me feel comfortable. I go to it, I know what's going to happen the very first thing, I know when it's going to end, it's on a time frame, and I can go ahead and put my actions into play because my brain has been thinking about what I need to do. So if you are thinking about getting into networking blueprints, you need to make sure you know what you're getting into, ask people about it, so this way you know if it is the right fit for you. Because there are some events that are, if you need that structure, you're not going to feel comfortable there. So those are definitely the things I would look for. And then when it comes to actions, action people like to go in. They're almost that salesperson type when they go to some of these networking events. They want to get that handshake. I'm going to give you my card and I'm going to be expecting to call you 3 times in the next week and we're going to set up meetings and get together. That's not what networking should be about. Networking is that planting that seed, watering it, making sure that sun gets in there, and it's going to be that growth period of that. And so if you're that action person that just wants the immediate results, you need to know what kind of networking group you're getting into. It's normally not going to work. At least for my personality, it won't work at all. I want to make sure that I'm making that connection. And I think most people getting into networking want the connection, and that's why they're joining it. So that's what I would look for or be cautious of if you are an action person. Let that nurturing side that you're going to talk about here in a second, let that nurturing side kind of come in on it and build that relationship.
It's funny because I think nurturers have the exact opposite problem as an action person. Nurturers will go into a meeting and want to meet every single person and have a conversation with them. That's a problem. Instead, you should be picking like 5 people you actually want to get to know, have a real conversation with them, and then ask for a follow up and be a little selfish. And I know I'm throwing the selfish word to those people who want to nurture, but here's the reality. At the end of the day, if all you did is just network, you're going to go out of business. You need to get that business. Now, yes, you do need, as Justin said, the farmer mentality. It is about nurturing these relationships. And that's what a nurturer is good at. But you need to plant that seed. And to plant that seed, you need to take action. And so I think nurturers, you need to come with a mindset of being a little bit more action oriented instead of meeting everybody. Your top 5 people you want to make a connection with, have some real conversations with them, and then go on to the next thing. Now, knowledge type, they're an interesting breed. Unlike action nurturers and blueprint, who actually like going to most networking events, knowledge people tend not to like actually going to networking events because you don't like being around a lot of people. Now, if you have some blueprint, like Justin said, you're going to really gravitate to one that has a structure. But overall, knowledge people aren't big because they don't want to be sold. They don't want to just show up and waste time. They want to be fed. They want to have something that's going to help them get to that next level. And so here's one of my suggestions for knowledge types. First off, I am so sorry. You're going to have to get out of your comfort zone. It is going to be important for you to go to the events that you don't like because you need to meet people. Second, there is hope. There are actual networking events like masterminds and masterclasses that do cater to people who love knowledge. You're going to have to pay a little bit more money to get really high-end in-person training, special events, but there are networking out there specifically for your type of personality. So that's a good thing. So it may cost you a little bit more. You may have to go hunt for them, but I guarantee you're going to walk away with a lot more knowledge and you're going to love that. But also remember, like I said, get out of your comfort zone, go meet some people. It's going to be good for your business. So that is our implementation tips. We hope that helped you. Now, as always, as our fellow listeners, we want to say the following to you. Obviously, I want to say to our listeners, thank you so much for tuning in. We really hope this opened your eyes, and we encourage you to get out of your little box. Step out. I know it can be scary. Go meet some new people. Go network. Go learn. Go say hi to someone. Get a business card. Give a business card. If someone gives you a business card, have a business card to give back. Never just take, always take and give. Because you're going to be surprised at the doors the universe is going to open for you just because you stepped outside your comfort zone. We believe in you. We believe you can accomplish great things if only people knew about you. So get out there, network like crazy, and we believe in you. So thank you for listening. And of course, we ask that you like, comment, share, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button. We'll see you next time. We are
The Average White Guys.